Okay, gentlemen, look, this isn't too complicated. I will be as brief as I can be. These are our base attack moves. We can run them from anywhere, but recognize that anytime we're going to spread the ball wide or do something that's a little more attacking or more risky in nature because of the complexity of the attack, we want to do it on their half, specifically inside of their 22. The converse is true. If we're on our own end, we're going to run back moves that are less risky and more kind of facilitate possession because we want to keep the ball, especially when we're in our own half. And we want to get more free with our attack as we get to the other side, or to the attacking side of the field. So nothing new there. So our base move really out of lineouts, anywhere around halfway to their side, we want to move the ball across the field. Largely, we want to do that so we can facilitate space so that our forwards have time to get out and into their attacking groupings. And we also want to see if we can catch the lazy forwards on their side, not getting to the breakdown where we can have a forward attacking a group beat their forwards to where the ball has gone to ground and attack in that space. So miss 2-5 out is our base move out of a line out. It looks very similar to a double miss, which I've seen you guys run. So essentially we had two forwards in the back line. We're going to want them to attack into the space that the number 12 who was skipped vacates. And that's largely to set up for their defensive backs running to field. If they begin to chase the ball and over pursue, we'll come with the 10 and he'll drop the ball to the 7 or 8 or the whichever two forwards we have out there running through those gaps. Or the 13 can catch and go back into those to those runners to try to catch defensive guys over pursuing. But if we run it as written, we're going to move that ball to the edge. Right now you can see a 3-player grouping, 13, 15, and 14. They're going to attack and win the tackle contest outside the 15-meter line. And as a general rule of our attack, since the ball is moved outside the 15-meter line, the closest network player, in this case number 10, is going to get there to be the restart person. So the number 12, who was a looper, becomes basically a flanker, a supporting player, and he chases that ball. Now, in this case, we had a tackle. The 15 was tackled, and the 12 and the 13 became ruckers over the top of that. But those also, if there's broken play, loose play, or if we want to keep the ball up, those are players that are going to be coming onto the ball, and the 15 can connect with those players to keep the ball up and keep it moving. Nonetheless, we've already started our formation. You can see the 9 now is connected to the forward grouping that's more than 10 meters away from the tackle breakdown, and we're going to get a connected attack right there. And that forward grouping should have pre-called what they're going to do, a point, crash, or a drift, depending on what they see the defensive setup as. Quick loop 5 out. We can run this out of a line out or of a scrum, and this is when we want to move the ball very, very wide, very quickly. So it looks very similar to some of the stuff that we've done in the past. I don't know how you've titled it in the past, but this is how we call this play. Quick loop 5 out. Pretty straightforward. And now we've got our 10 is the restart player. Our 9 is misnumbered. Should probably be in the spot of the 13, and 13 and 12 would shift away from field. But any player can step into that connected spot. And if there is somebody in there and that's not a 10 meter, there can be communication between the connected player and our attacking forward grouping. This will be new to Boise State, and I've added defenders here so that you can get a sense for what we're trying to do to the defense. Out of a scrum, pretty much anywhere on the field, because we can use some of our crash options in this move to possess the ball, get the gain line. We also can use it very much as an attacking move inside of our. It applies anywhere, so I'll leave it at that. So essentially what we're going to get is when it is a scrum left and the backs are right, we're going to use our number 9 to attack their number 10 with crashing 12 and 13 to create something uncomfortable for their supporting player. Number 10 and number 6, we're trying to ask them to make decisions here. So we're going to get a pickup from the number 8, who's going to get a quick pass to the 9. Our 10 will drift away behind 12 and 13 as crashing centers. Our 7 or 6, whichever is the flanker supporting that, and the 8 are going to clean up whatever tackle contest happens. So our number 9 now is going to make number 10, number 6, number 10 make a decision. We've got number 8 and number 12 running at the number 10 space. So the slide isn't set up great. That number 12 should have a different angle, but what we're trying to do is get a fix on that number 10 and ask that number 10 is either going to step down on the 12, in which case that's going to set up our next move, or he's not, and we're going to get the gain line because their defending flanker is likely not going to get to the line before our 12 does. Now, if the number 10 starts to step down and the flanker starts to commit to the 12, if we get a sense for that, we can use our other option to the 13. And remember, if most teams are running a drift, that inside center is drifting and has to pick up the 13. And so at this point, if their 10 and their flanker step down on the 12, then the 13 has a lot of space to run back inside of their defending inside center. If we get a step down from both defenders and they begin to really defend our crash at the gain line with a 12 and 13, we're going to go right behind them, and those two players become dummy runners. Our backside wing is going to chase that ball and be in a position to help the 10. The 15 and 11 will be out there. And as you can see right now, if their inside center has stepped down on our outside center, we now have a 4-on-3 running to about half the field. That wing, we'd like him to pick a spot, but typically want him to come back inside the 10 to try to hold the other team's defending outside center so that we've got basically a 3-on-1 and the 15 coming over the top. Our wing, in this case, can't allow themselves to be pushed to the sideline. They've got to take a pretty vertical or even slightly inside shade attack angle. Same move with St. Mary's, and the reason we call it St. Mary's is this whole attacking series has been adopted from St. Mary's University in Northern California. I wish I could take credit for having come up with it, but I did not. So this is the same thing. The only difference here is that when you've got a backs left, their scrum half can stand right on top of the ball. So we've got to get a good box from our number 8 on their number 9, and our number 9 has to get a pass that's very easy to handle to our number 11, who's essentially going to be our number 9 as we run this St. Mary's attack to the left-hand side. And so we want to keep their number 9 and their flanker near the scrum by having this number 9 make a pass. Essentially, it's the same move, but the backside wing, as opposed to the number 9, will make that. And recognize we're going to use personnel. So just because you're number 11 or number 14 doesn't mean you're going to line up to a certain side. When we've got an attack on, we've got a St. Mary's, we're going to take our wing that's the best handler, the best catch-pass guy, and we're going to put him in that backside spot. That's it. That's the entirety of all of our attack moves. I'm sure we'll add more to it, but for right now, that's what we're going to start with. Thanks, gentlemen.